Welcome back to Dry Arabia for another casted game. This time we have a really interesting matchup with Let You Wonderland in the orange on the south side as Order of the Dragon, dropping his Dark Age barracks for some spearman shenanigans. And on the north side we have in the green Goodmare as the Malians, building up his pit mine and going to be dropping all of those houses around there for that passive gold income. So this is going to be a really fun one, I am absolutely sure of it. And while we are talking about the matchup, let's take a little look at the scouting paths here. So Let You Wonderland, I think, going off to the left, normally you would see going to the center to grab these contested sheep and off to the side. Because as the Order of the Dragon, not HRE, you want to make sure you get as much food as possible because that's going to be super important. And this spearman is going out in the dark now trying to find their base. So I think often when you see players doing this, the scout goes straight over to find the enemy base, and then the spear can start hitting that pit mine and slowing down the villagers. So here we go. So now he's trying to find it, he's trying to figure out where it is, and obviously looking at the spawn, usually it's a mirror, so you would expect it's sort of just over here. So if we reveal the Fog of War, that's basically exactly where he is. But this is a really good spot for Goodmare because he has that back gold, so this means the pit mine is actually much harder to hit. It's going to take the spear much longer to get there, so this is going to give him much more time because that's what the Malians need. They need time to set up their pit boom, their cow boom, all the booms booming away, like the Venga boys. And so this is much more defensible, and there's also some food at the back. But if we see all those cows coming in as you would expect, then those berries are probably just going to sit there looking pretty with their butterflies floating. We've only seen the one spear go down, and so it looks like we're going to be going up into feudal here. But these guys do gather much more quickly, so those sheep are going to run out. So it's Let You Wonderland is going to really have to be careful now to not run out of that food, unless he's planning on going out on the deer pack, which you often see Order of the Dragon players do because they have that higher gather rate and they carry more. They get way more value from the deer packs early. So maybe that's what we're going to be seeing when the sheep run out. So now the spearman and a villager, so we're looking at potentially a tower rush. So does he know where it is? Yes, so there we go, a tower's going up. And this is something that's really interesting to do because if you can deny these pits, it has a massive impact on the economy. Because here, look, there's none on gold, but he's still already got enough for the age up. So this is something you want to be really careful of. And Order of the Dragon gets that extra torch damage, so these buildings are going to go down much more quickly. But spying out the mill there going up, but it's just within the TC range. That's really unlucky there. I think the tower potentially could have been in a slightly different position, maybe actually could have been much more forward, could have been here and would have denied the berries, or even around this side potentially. But I think probably over here would have been a little bit nicer, but it's easy for me to say when I can see everything. We've got the Mansa Quarry going up in the front, which is pretty standard, so I'd be expecting the cow boom to be going off to the back somewhere, ready for that Castle Age landmark. But we've got a load of wood coming up, ready for some extra pits, and all of the other setup that the Malians need to do. The Mansa Quarry, I imagine, is going to be sticking on gold, because you can choose whether it generates gold or stone, and so depending on what his play is, we'll see what he goes for. Aging up with 4 pretty standard stuff there. But because of those Dark Age, that Dark Age spear and the tower rush, Let You Wonderland is actually going to be getting to feudal quite a bit more slowly, and he's already gathering wood, but he's had to go out on the deer now because the sheep have run out. So this is going to work really well for his eco in the future, but he is now giving Goodmare that space to breathe, because while he's in feudal and he's only got that one spear, he might be able to take out these houses, but this is still generating 60 or 52 gold a minute. Of course it changes the second I look at it. So this is still going to be generating that passive income. Now, looking at the spawn for other pit mines, this is where it gets a little bit more tricky, because there's no other back gold. So there's one really far out here on the corner that Goodmare might be able to sneak out too. The other one is very forward, so that's going to get scouted immediately, and the other one is also pretty forward over here, and it's also blocked by the wood line, which isn't ideal because the more buildings that you get around it, the more houses and mining camps, then the higher the passive income. So really you want to be getting that as high as possible. Also, I would expect that in Feudal, Let You Wonderland is going to try and get the arrow slits on there, so it extends that range and can take out more, and start getting the torches on these things. So really probably want to be focusing on the one, but we've got some Donzos, not what I was expecting, because against Order of the Dragon you really need those hard counters because the units are so much stronger, and Malians, luckily enough, basically has a hard counter for everything, but you have to make sure you get the right unit. So it's really interesting why we've got Donzos. Maybe it's because they can throw those spears, but I would have expected probably archers as the counter to spears, but that's just me. If we go back over to Let You Wonderland here, we've got the Arkan Chapel, which is in a pretty good spot. It's getting the gold, it's getting any sheep that are under the TC. A couple over here, we want to bring them all back over into the right spot. And then we've got the lumber camp going here, so it's just about going to get that lumber camp, but as soon as it starts moving out, it's not going to. So yeah, a pretty decent position, and always like to see a backen because it's much more protected. So that's what I call an Arkan that's in the back, of course. So now we're going to be looking at this villager pool. Look at that. All of those villagers really wants to get that tower down. And unfortunately, that spear is going to be going the way of the dodo, as Drongo would say. So here we go. So the Donzos are now going to be chasing that spear. And he's just not going to be able to do any damage. And didn't get to take that house out. Unfortunately, that means that passive income is still going to be going up. And we can see all these houses now to increase that income. And the mining camp. So it looks like he's Goodmare's going to be going heavy on the gold, potentially for a castle play. But we've only got 1 mill. Usually with the cow boom, you'd often see 2 mills, really pumping them out and getting those cattle ranches down, because you get that special cattle ranch building that again gives passive food. So hopefully we're going to see what's doing. There we go, the cattle ranch, as I said, side or back. So now the cows are going to be able to come out of here, take a little stroll and go in the ranch to get some passive, and there we go, we see that. So Malians are just using all of that gold to their advantage. And the Order of the Dragon have got massive food income now because they've got all of these deer, but they're starting to make archers against the Donzos. So this actually potentially is a real 5-head prey from Goodmare here, that he's forcing the archers, which if he is planning on going for javelin throwers, are a massive counter to Gilded Archers. But you have to be careful because the Gilded Archers do fire much more quickly, so they have faster attack speed and they have increased range, which means they can really do some serious damage if they get over to your base. But anything that you can do to disrupt these villagers has a massive impact on the Order of the Dragon economy, and while they're busy fighting these Donzos, they're not disrupting the cow boom and the pit boom over here. So only 1 pit mine so far. Maybe we're going to be seeing another one, and this guy is, there we go, just taking a little break. It must be really hot outside the flaming pit mine there, so doing that. And it looks like the rally point is just outside, maybe it's an animation problem, but we'll have to see. So we've got 2 cattle ranches going up, and the Donzos sneaking around the back here. So they're not exactly Musafadi with the stealth, but they are sneaking around trying to get some damage, and it looks like they might be able to catch someone unawares, because they do get that ranged attack. So if you can see that they throw the javelin, which is 7 damage there, so they might not get a kill, but they would be able to do a nice little bit of damage here. There we go, look, boom. So this is really nice. That really good micro there, burning that down. This, I think, is really good. Just pushing him off the gold, not going into the TC range, and now running around to see what damage. And now Let You Wonderland has no idea where they are, so this, I think, is going to work really, really nicely. If we head over, the Gilded Archers have actually gone straight over to the base, but we do see Sofa. But look at that damage. Even though the Sofa is the counter, these units, these 5 Gilded Archers are basically 10, and they can do some real serious damage. And we see some men-at-arms in queue, and these men-at-arms are really beefy boys. So Goodmare's going to have to be really careful to make sure he gets the numbers up, because you don't want this military advantage to be going too far, even if the economy is working really well for you. So it looks like the the Castle Age landmark is going to be going in the center here because it buffs up the ranches around. So some really nice base planning going on here. This is why I love playing the Byzantines, and I think eventually I need to play the Malians, because looking at all of this SimCity going on just makes me very, very happy. So if we have a look here, now we've got the Gilded Archers that are trying to do some damage, and they managed to... They didn't manage to get the scout, so Goodmez pulled his units back, and he's sitting there out of the way, which is really nice. But the Donzos here just keeping them off this gold and trying to put a tower up, but they're just guarding that, which means no men-at-arms, no more upgrades coming in. I think this is really nice. So hopefully Goodmed can notice that while he's running the other way, because if that tower goes up, it's going to be way more difficult to do damage. So we'll just have to see where these guys are going. If we head over, we might be able to see the rally point, but he's checking the external food resources. It looks like the deer and stuff like that, so potentially maybe one of these guys running over there would have done that. But this tower's going to go up because the Gilded units build much more quickly, so this is going to be a really good little spot now for Let You Wonderland. If we check out on the units here, there's the nice Gilded Archers just guarding the outside of Goodmez's base, but letting him boom to the extreme. And now we're starting to see the sofas getting, and the javelins, as we mentioned. So the javelins do extra damage against ranged units, and they have ranged armor. So the additional damage these ranged units do is going to be negated. So yeah, any civilizations that can get javelins against these Gilded Archers generally do really well, which is the Malians and the Byzantines. So here we go, we see them massing up on the other side, so it's okay if this stables goes down, because, you know, it's more about massing up the units. And here, there we go, we've got Sofa doing some damage over here, we've got some Donzos raiding at the front, and this is keeping Let You Wonderland really busy while he's trying to push in at the front. So now we've got these men-at-arms, and even with the TC firing, look at the damage. Nothing. You can't even tell. It's because they've got 230 health, which is an insane amount, and the javelins there getting taken out because you need to mass them up. These units, 9 of those, it's basically 18 archers. So, but here going a bit too aggressive, and even though they got a lot of health, they are eventually going to get whittled down. And when that front line of men-at-arms is gone, eventually those archers are going to be able to get hit by the Sofa and by the javelins. So hopefully Goodmed can start getting up a number of these javelins to really start packing a punch. But if we go back over here, the Gilded Archers are still in queue, and there we go. See, one of them just guarding these resources, but they're getting caught out with the men-at-arms. Luckily, luckily, as the Malians, you do have the Musafari warriors, so they counter the heavy units. So against the men-at-arms, could go Musafari, but they are weak against ranged. So with these Gilded Archers around, that's a real problem. And there's a tower going up now for that extra vision, so they can actually get through the wood line and do some real damage. But what are you doing, cheeky boy? Oh, here we go. There we go. So we've got really far forward bit mine. Very, very aggressive, but unfortunately it's been scouted out pretty early, and this villager is really going to take the fall for that one. But while it's still up and while it's not been burnt down, it's still going to produce a huge amount. And the Gran Falani Corral being built there. So if we have a little look, all of these ranches in range now, and so the economy is just going to be going absolutely insane. And it looks like the tower's gone up, and so there were some rams in queue which now have disappeared. So it looks like oh no, siege engineering, there we go. So we should be expecting some rams once we've got enough wood. But looking at the economy here, we've got loads on gold ready to build those units, and some more production in the back just in case because they've taken out that stables. So I think at the moment this economic position for Goodmare is really, really solid. And we've still got a Sofa around here doing some raiding, keeping him off that gold, because now Goodmere's in the Castle Age, which is going to be much better for him for all of these fights. So it looks like Let You Wonderland is still massing up units, and as I predicted, there's a ram coming up now with the classic units running around in circles. If we head over here, we've got a couple of units burning down these houses, so that's going to be reducing the gold. But now we're in Castle. Malians get the cheaper and the quicker upgrades, so this means these are all going to come in super fast, and that's going to be real trouble now. So you can see he's trying to do as much damage as possible before all of these upgrades and the economy kicks in. But with that cow boom that's already set up, the villager numbers actually mean much less, because if we quickly pop over to the income per minute, look at that food, 1,000. And if we go back over, we've got 15 villagers on food, so they must be over here on the berries and on a couple of extra resources, but that amount of income is absolutely insane. So these archers are going down and doing some real business here and trying to destroy these cattle ranches, and this is really clever. You can only make so many cows, and while they're still a carcass like this, you can't actually produce any more. So breaking down the cattle ranches and then getting the cows like this means that you can't actually get the full buff from the landmark. So actually I think this is a really clever play. So just doing that should actually reduce his food income by quite a bit. But now it's another ram's coming in, so I think they're trying to go for that push rather than going for the castle age. So we're just going to have to see whether he can do enough damage. But that ram just half produced, just waiting to be finished. There we go. And are we going to see the classic units running around in circles, or have we got just enough? There we go. So here we go. And if we go back over, there's a sofa running around trying to do some damage in the wood line for this long distance wood gathering that we've got going on. But this external pit mine not really doing the job. Getting these houses is good, but if you're going to be doing the whole thing, you probably want to get the pit mine down because it's still generating quite a lot of gold, but that's going to be going down before long. So if we head over now, we've got a stream of units still coming over, so still trying to mass up these units, but looking at that one on food. So really, Goodmez doing a really good job of disrupting that eco, which means he's just not able to get those units out quickly enough. But speaking of which, he's still only got 20 against the 40, so this fight might look quite even, but it's really dangerous because you've got the... there we go. So the javelins are going to be able to take out the archers. They do a huge amount of damage, but look at this. They're still going to be able to do tons of damage, but they're... there we go. So they're focusing on the Donzos, the Sofas are coming in, and those numbers are starting to whittle down. But those Gilded units are really packing a punch and taking out most of these units. So this, I think, if Goodmez not careful, these units, even though they're small in number, they are mighty in power. But those rams are sitting there as maybe easy targets. Since the change where units automatically attack rams, actually I've seen people using them as diversions, because if you send the ram in the opposite direction, if you just A-move, your units tend to focus on the rams rather than on units, which can be a little bit frustrating. So here, going for the production, maybe. So unfortunately the villager pool there is going to be able to take those rams out pretty sharpish, but so they're not getting the damage that they were looking for. But this tower with the one villager in it is actually starting to whittle down this javelin thrower there. So if we take a little look, and Goodmez, you cheeky boy, I love it. Look, we've got another really open, super far away pit mine that's being built. I'm not sure where the villagers are that are working towards it. Maybe it's this one running around the side. So literally just outside of his base. So maybe it's the risking it for a biscuit where your opponent doesn't scout behind their own base for a long time, so you can get that full passive income on your second pit mine. And now that he's in castle, he can also get a third, so maybe he's going to be going for a cheeky one on this big one here, you know, because if you're going to go for it, why not go big, you know? Go for big pit mine or go home. So now if we look at the army difference, it's really shifted since that big fight. So we've only got 4 units for the Order of the Dragon, and he's really struggling for gold. So it doesn't look like he's got any villagers on gold at the minute, so whether they're building, here we go, defensive walls. So I'm not sure. I think stone walls might be a bit of overkill, to be honest, with the units he has. But you know, but they're streaming in at the front here, and we've got some Musafadi, we've got some sofas, we've got javelin throwers, we've got a little bit of everything, you know, for the full pick and mix of Malian units. So we're doing some damage at the front here, and these javelin throwers are really good because these units have much more health, so you can't overkill as easily. So looking at this, they're able to do actually quite a lot of damage to those units, and they were also doing some damage over here at the same time, raiding these villagers, so starting to do a real bit of damage. And There we go. So looking at these Musafadi running around, still managing to get these spears. So yeah, now I think the military difference is having a big impact, and also the villager difference. Looking at this food income, if we switch over now, 1,500 a minute, look at that. And the gold income is just going up and up and up, because I think we've got this pit mine going up, which is nice. So this raiding on the food, if you can keep Order of the Dragon off the food and off the gold, they are in real trouble. We've got one spear now, and it doesn't look like there's much else coming into queue very quickly. So these units are going to be able to do a huge amount of damage. And he doesn't see any archers, so no more javelins, which I think is really quite clever. And they're streaming over now. So as Order of the Dragon, this is really not what you want to see. You don't want to see all of these units coming over like this. And we've got villagers all over the place, exposed and gathering. So if we could get maybe a Gilded Horseman, that would do some serious damage over here. But if we head over, there we go, this tower's been taken down, and these villagers are really going to be in trouble. Even with that extra health, they're not going to be doing too good. And we've got some raiding units here, and it looks like a market to try and buy our way up to castle, because now with all the upgrades that the Malians got and their income, here we go. So we see the Burgrave, and where is it? Where are you? And there's a second TC. When did that pop up? There we go. A surprise second TC. And the Burgrave at the back. But even with these units running in, this is delaying it even further. So he's going to have to get up pretty sharpish. Otherwise, this is going to turn really, really bad. But with all of these units outside, spending all of that on this is going to be really quite dangerous if he can't hold. So they're taking out the towers now and all these villagers, and I think this is a really tough spot to get out of now, because as Order of the Dragon, your units produce much more slowly as well. So to try and defend against this is going to be really tough. And those units giving them, the villagers, the real run around there around the both of the TCs which are firing. So this double defensive TC is actually doing some serious damage against the Malian units, but at this stage the villagers are all idle, so the economy is going down. And even more, there we go. So just stopped the age up there, and looking like it's probably going to be put in a slightly different position. So we're going to have to see. That's cancelling that. I think that was a mistake. I think if you're going to do a villager pull, keep it where it is. I think now this is literally the Hail Mary of landmark builds, and there's the Sofa and all the Musafadi here coming in. So let's see whether he's able to get it up. And all the units converging. Oh no, oh no, look at those villagers. Run! Run! Oh dear, I think we're in real trouble now, and the villagers still not aging up and trying to run around. So doing some serious damage, keeping them in the TC, but there's only so much you can do when there's this many units around. So if this age up doesn't get completed soon, then I think this might be close to where the cookie crumbled. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But looking at this raiding that's going on, if we check the mini-map as we're going, all these units streaming over. We've got another tons of gold here, no pit mine, but I guess, you know, you don't need it. And that landmark's gone down again, and I think this time it was actually taken out, so he's not even got the resources now to age up. So even if he decided to build it again, that's the end of that. So this, I think, a really solid play from Goodmare, and a real example where if you're going to try and stop the pit mines, you've got to slow those Malians down, or you're in real trouble. Here we go, and we're back now just before the end of the game to do a little post-match review. And obviously we're looking at the little proxy pit mine in the bottom corner, because I just think it's hilarious. I think it's great. So we're going to pause it now so we don't run out of time. So let's have a little look at our Order of the Dragon players' base. So obviously the villagers are running around, but let's assume that they're not. So I think the walling here actually is quite good to stop the raiding at the side, but it's still very open, and I think often it's very easy to forget that the houses don't actually work as walls. So this is basically completely open, and although you've got that defensive tower, the units can still stream in. So maybe a couple of short walls just across the front here would have just forced them to go under that TC fire and just take that extra damage. The stone wall here I think is a bit maybe aggressive. It's kind of unnecessary because they didn't have any rams and they don't have any siege, so actually the stone walls aren't really going to do much more, and they're very, very expensive. Also, if you're going to wall on this side, I actually personally would have walled here, and then that also would have revealed this. But yeah, basically this wall doesn't actually secure anything except the base. This wall here, if the pit mine wasn't there, actually would be way shorter. So I would say going for a shorter one that secures resources. Even actually if you went ahead here, got the stone, got around here, you could destroy this and actually it's completely protected. The TC went up actually before this wall, and I think when your opponent's in castle, you're in feudal and you've just taken a really heavy fight. So the fight that was here outside the base, where the military count was double for Let You Wonderland than Goodmare, that fight really didn't go well, and it equalized the military count, and then he's slowly been able to whittle him down from there. Adding in a TC at that point rather than rushing castle, I think is potentially what really put the nail in the coffin here, because getting the TC is good, and order obviously gets a big bonus, and you can see here the villager kills, but at the point where this went up, that difference wasn't so huge, and I think actually spending time getting this rather than just getting the gold and getting the food that you need, actually I think is slowed down enough that you then can't get out those super powerful units. Because looking at these with the Musafadi, you could counter them with the archers, you could get spears, so all of these could be countered in feudal age and then upgraded very quickly in castle. I don't mind the farms around the Archon. I think because of all the units running around, you can't really stay out on these deer, and he did a really good job of going out there, but one tower's not really going to do the job when you're getting pushed like that. So I don't know, I'm not a big fan of the switch from building it at the back to building it at the front, because actually, although you were getting raided here, it's a really defensive position. At the front, it's literally basically putting something outside the front of your house and saying, hey, don't come and knock on my door. So personally, I think that's a very ambitious position, even if you chucked it maybe down in this corner where it's a bit harder to get to, something like that. Or if there was more space between these walls, you could potentially put it in there. But at this point, they're running around your base, so I'm not sure the position would have made a huge difference. If we have a look over at Goodmare and his economy, he's managed to get these ranches back up, and I think actually this was one of the things that Let You Wonderland did really, really well, was targeting down one of these cattle ranches. If he'd been able to take out a couple more of those, it would have actually given him a bit more breathing room, and if that had been taken down while he was going castle, I think that could have turned the tide. But taking that down and killing those cows really, I think, sort of slowed down the food economy a little bit. And with the pit mines, this one is obviously fully set up. We've got the one that was over here that's being reconstructed at the end of the game that was taken out, and we've got the full one over here. So in terms of the gold infrastructure, you can see here the income is absolutely insane, and going for all of the upgrades, all of the eco upgrades, which I think has done a massive job for the economy. And sound like a politician, the economy. And I think one thing that Goodmare could have done would maybe be to get some more production because of this income, unless he was planning on doing a fast imperial, getting a load more units in queue, because if we head to his vision, we've got 6 barracks and 3 stables, so that's pretty good actually, so we do have room to queue up some more, but also getting some poison archers would have been really, really fun. But I love the poison archers, so that's just me. I also would have loved a moss to go down, even though the gold income is absolutely insane for the Malians. You can basically use it to do everything. So grabbing some of those relics, getting the sacred sites, I think just, you know, why not? If you're going to be greedy and boom to the extreme, why not get all of the relics as well? But yeah, I think leaving it on the proxy pit mine, I think that was a really interesting game, some really interesting attacks, and I hope you've enjoyed following along with me. But have a great day whatever you're doing, and I will see you in the next one.